And what if I said that Yona of the Dawn is more of a shonen than Inuyasha? Wait, listen. Before you start booing, before you click off, give me a second to plead my case, okay? Welcome back to my channel. I am Up at the Otaku, and today is the first video in our anime and yap sessions. You guys said you guys would love little filler episodes where we could just talk about more low stakes things. And this video is inspired by last year's Yona of the Dawn season 2 announcement. Yona Hive, Akatsuki no Yona Hive. We're so up, we're so back. And in this video, I'm gonna break down not only how Yona of the Dawn could have ran as a shonen, but also why it should have ran as a shonen. And I truly believe that had it ran as a shonen, we would not have been waiting 10 years for a season 2. It would have got a full series run originally, very similarly to Inuyasha. So keep an open mind, put on your thinking caps, walk with me, let's go. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you have the option to hype it, please do. YouTube has decided that hypes are the new likes for smaller creators like myself. So when you hype and like my video, it helps me cut through the noise of the algorithm and reach a larger audience. Okay, now let's get into this. So first of all, I hate to be the one to tell you, but everything you think you know about the terms shonen, shoujo, seinen, and josei is probably wrong, but don't worry. I'm here to help you figure this out. Okay, so let's start with what these terms actually mean. So shonen literally means of a few years, and the more like day-to-day use phrase for that term is like a small male or like a little boy. But we're gonna circle back to that later on. Just follow me. Now, shoujo literally means small woman, or specifically small female human, which is a girl. Seinen literally means youth, which I actually did not know up until like putting this video together, and I just wanted to like double check my terminology. I always thought seinen meant older male, but it means youth. The literal word means youth, but it is used to describe young adult men, like 18 and up. And last but not least, josei means woman or female human if you want to be technical about it. Okay, so now we have a basis for the terms we're going to be using in this video. Your girl likes to underpaint. It's going to get a little spooky. Just vibe with me. Just vibe with me, okay? We're setting the primer. Give me a second. Okay, back on topic. Now, I will say, with the exception of the word shonen, I think it's very rare to hear these words be used in like everyday, day-to-day casual Japanese language conversation. And when they are used, I don't believe, again, in everyday casual Japanese language conversation, they're not used in their literal term. You wouldn't say shoujo instead of saying little girl. You would say like onanoko, like a small woman, or a woman's that's a child. The literal definitions are a little tricky, but you wouldn't use them, right? And that's important because I think in like the anime and manga space, we simplify these terms down so much to the point in which we refer to them as like demographic terms, which they are, but more specifically, they are marketing demographic terms. This is important. Keep walking with me. I did a little bit of research and found that these terms were mainly used by the Japanese publishing industry in the early 1900s. And now, more specifically, they are used by the manga publishing industry in Japan. And it's very important to note that up until the 20th century, the term shonen was actually used within the publishing industry to describe children's material overall, whether they were little boys or little girls. And in fact, shoujo in and of itself is a relatively new term in the publishing industry. So what does this mean for Yona of the Dawn? Before we move on, let's just have a quick overview about how publishers use this terminology to decide what stories are going to run in which magazine. Essentially, the job of the publishing industry, like any industry, is to make money. How do you make money in a publication? Through your advertisers. So these publishers have to figure out, what do the advertisers want to see in this magazine? If I just got an advertiser for Pepsi Cola, right? Pepsi Cola wants to run a 5-year contract in my magazine. Should I be publishing content that is anti-soda, telling you about all the dangers of drinking soda? No, of course not. That's not a good idea for my advertisers. What does this have to do with Yona of the Dawn? Walk with me. So let's say it's the year 2009 and I work at Weekly Shoujo magazine, okay? I work in the publishing department, and a young budding mangaka sends me the first few chapters of her latest work, Yona of the Dawn, and for you purists, Akatsuki no Yona, okay? She tells me it's a shoujo. Now, This is a great point to say. I fully understand that the authoress, okay, the mangaka that creates this work describes it as a shoujo. This video is not to say that she is wrong in describing it that way. It is just to say I wholeheartedly disagree. But let's get back on topic. So she sends it to me, and I, as the publisher, I reach out to my marketing team, my advertising team, and we're taking a look and we're seeing what this is about. All of the teams get together and we decide, for whatever reason, we don't think our advertisers are gonna like this. We don't think they're gonna feel this. We don't think it's gonna mesh well with our content here at Weekly Shoujo magazine. So we're gonna pass. As a publisher, I can make that decision. But let's say I have a friend that works at Weekly Shonen magazine, and I send over those same few chapters to them. And it turns out they just signed a 5-year contract with an advertiser for a dragon-based, dragon-centric video game. Yona of the Dawn would be perfect for that publication. It's in line with what the advertisers are trying to sell. It's the same content, but the publisher has made a decision on where it should run. And for the record, it's not uncommon for any piece of media to run in a different genre than the creator intended it to. We're gonna keep it anime specific now, but it happens across all mediums. I will say this is why so many people are often shocked that the Apothecary Diaries has ran in both a josei publication and a seinen publication. And to top it all off, as a light novel, the light novel site that it originally ran on, or I guess it still runs on that site because it's ongoing, is most noticed for writing shonen. So that's across 3 different marketing demographics that the same material has been published into. And that's because, again, these are not just demographic terms, these are marketing demographic terms. Marketing, advertisers, where are the people going to want to put the money towards? If y'all could let me digress for just a second, when you look at something like the Apothecary Diaries, you can surely see the different ways advertisers would advertise it specifically to women and specifically to men. Here, boots on the ground, I see a lot of like pop-ups in just like the pharmacy. An apothecary is a pharmacist. So if your advertisers are pushing drugs and you are in a seinen magazine, then yeah, the Apothecary Diaries would fit. And if you also just want to push the romantic aspect of the Apothecary Diaries, yeah, a josei would fit. It can fit into so many things depending on who the publisher has contracted as advertisers. Let's get back to Yona of the Dawn. By the way, all of my sources will be cited in the description box, so I would definitely encourage anybody who's interested about the manga publishing industry and how things get published and what that means for each story to check some of them out. There's a lot more material on there than I originally thought. Okay, so now we're really gonna get into Yona of the Dawn here, and I'm gonna tie it in with Inuyasha. I just need you guys to just keep walking with me, okay? Just keep walking with me. Okay, so there is no set thematic or artistic boundary for what makes a piece of work a shoujo. Shoujo is quite literally delineated by misogyny. In fact, of the 4 segmentations that the Japanese manga publishing industry uses to decide what is going to go where, shoujo is literally the only category that does not have a set standard of thematic or artistic boundaries. There is no established through line that helps categorize the work. Shonen, on the other hand, has a very consistent thematic through line. Regardless of genre, when you are considering a shoujo, you are going to find themes of courage, perseverance, friendship, victory, determination. These are the thematic through lines that you will see throughout most mainstream shonen, if not all. I say most because there's always exceptions to every rule, but virtually all, really. And so my question to you all is, don't we see that in Yona of the Dawn? I mean, don't we see all of that in season 1 of Yona of the Dawn? Let's even put the entire manga to the side. Because what is courage, if not to leave behind everything you've ever known, life as you know it, to go on a deadly journey to find beings you're not even sure exist or not? What is friendship, if not Hawk's relationship with White Snake? Okay, those two, they love each other bad, okay? Don't even get me started on the Green Jacket and Hawk, okay? Y'all wasn't gonna tell me I forgot to put eyeliner on? Y'all, wow. What is perseverance if not Yona making the decision to leave behind her life as a pampered bougie princess only to become a woman of the people, so determined, so steadfast in her determination not to just be the propped up political pawn that she has always been, but rather be a woman that not only changes within herself, but ignites change within other princesses who were also being used or on the path to being used as pampered, propped up political pawns. Like Yona radicalizing the water princess? The princess of like the water kingdom? It's been a while since I read that chapter, guys. Sorry. But y'all know who I'm talking about. But Yona radicalizing her and it sticking is such a good example of how Yona's perseverance permeates throughout her network. What is victory if not all of our beloved characters getting their own happy endings? That being said, I personally did not care for the ending of Yona of the Dawn. Now that I'm saying this, I'm realizing I actually never read the epilogue. It came out like months after the last one and I haven't read it yet. I think I'll like go read it. My hope is that some of the issues that I had with the ending are like addressed in the epilogue. I'm trying to keep this video anime only because I'm excited for us to get new people in the Yona Hive when season 2 drops. So I don't want to drop any spoilers. If you all have read the manga and you guys want to talk about that ending, let me know so I can make a separate video because I have thoughts, okay? I have a lot of thoughts, but I digress. Okay, so the difference between a shonen and a shoujo. Now, it's not just the thematic beats that make a shonen a shonen. There's also the artistic style. Typically, shonen utilizes a more edgy art style compared to its other demographic boundaries. You're gonna find characters with spiky hair. You're gonna find sharp edges, harsh contours. That's like the artistic style that is typically associated with shonen. And most famously, I would say, is that in a shonen piece, you're going to find that the characters have smaller eyes. Like I said, shoujo does not have a set standard for the artistic style of what makes a shoujo, but something that came up in my research was like there was a comparison between shonen and shoujo, and it found that in shonen the characters had smaller eyes than in shoujos, and in shoujos they would have bigger eyes. Let's keep that in mind. Now, admittedly, I am not a visual artist, right? I don't draw, I don't paint. That's not my ministry. So I'm going to make this next point via a series of comparisons. Here we go. Look at these images. What is the difference between the art style in Yona of the Dawn and in Inuyasha? Realistically, what is the difference? What is the difference in these art styles? Let's even add this. What is the difference in the eye sizes between Inuyasha, Yona of the Dawn, and Naruto? Now, don't get me wrong. When I looked at these 3 images and I stared and I analyzed it as for the sake of this video, you can definitely see the edges are a bit stronger in Naruto. Like, I do think that's undeniable. I also think, in my opinion, the difference overall is still quite marginal. Also, didn't I tell you guys to trust me? It's significantly less spooky, right? We're almost out of the woods. Okay, so with all of these things considered, let's go back to our original comparison, Yona of the Dawn and Inuyasha. What is the difference between Inuyasha and Yona of the Dawn that makes Yona of the Dawn a shoujo and Inuyasha a shonen? I, for one, was genuinely shocked when I found out that Inuyasha was a shonen. Because everything I think of when I think of a shoujo is Inuyasha. Like, to me, I feel like the demon hunting journey is absolutely a backdrop. Inuyasha is basically an anime love and hip hop. I've said it before, I'll say it 1,000 times. The fact that that is considered a shonen and has been marketed to boys, while Yona of the Dawn is considered a shoujo and has been marketed to little girls, it is not a content or an artistic style that delineates these 2 pieces of work. It is all a publishing decision, which is to say a marketing decision, which is to say an advertiser decision. I don't want to say it has little to do with the actual content of the piece, but the content of the work has less to do with the decision of how they're going to be serialized than I think we all give it credit for. Again, going back to that hypothetical fictional publisher at Weekly Shonen and Weekly Shoujo, I think there is so much evidence to support that if in 2009 they had just signed an advertising contract for a company that made realistic toy weapons and their centerpiece, like their piece that they really wanted to sell was like a guandao, like what Hawk uses, Yona of the Dawn could have easily been serialized as a shonen, and it would have been a perfect fit for that magazine because it aligns with what the advertisers would want to see running against their product. All right, y'all, it's gonna get really scary when I powder down, so I'm gonna do that off camera and then we're gonna bring this on home, okay? Shonen and shoujo are marketing demographic terms, not just demographic terms. And as a result, they can be applied to any manga, regardless of the intended target demographic of the mangaka. Now, there are 4 main marketing demographic terms used in the manga publishing industry. And out of those 4, shoujo is the only one that does not have a standard through line thematically or artistically that delineates what is a shoujo. That being said, Yona of the Dawn has all of the thematic elements of a traditional shonen, and the art style is only marginally different from the traditional shonen standard. And even that could be equated to, you know, the artist's prerogative, artistic liberty on the side of the mangaka. You know, it's only now occurring to me that I should have done a Yona of the Dawn inspired makeup look for the purpose of this video. Yeah, I definitely should have done a Yona of the Dawn inspired makeup look, but you know, hindsight is 2020, so let's pretend that somehow, some way, this feels very Yona of the Dawn inspired. Let's just pretend, guys. Whatever. All of that, this entire video has just been to land my point. I think that Yona of the Dawn should have been categorized as a shonen, and I genuinely believe that had it been serialized in a weekly shonen magazine or bi-weekly shonen magazine, it would not have faced the shoujo slump that all of us shoujo lovers knows exists, right? Where we have to fight for 10 years to get season 2 of a masterpiece, whereas an average shonen gets a full series run. Going back to my Inuyasha comparison, I think that if Inuyasha could have a full series run, it did 2 series, a couple of movies, and a sequel, I think Yona of the Dawn deserved that same kind of run. And obviously we're getting a season 2, so it's possible it could get that now, but I think it should have gotten it when it first came out in 2009. I don't think we should have had to wait 10 years for a season 2 of arguably one of the best stories I've ever read in a manga. Top 3 at least. Okay, this is the final look. This was fun, right? I had fun. I have been meaning to shout this from the rooftops. I have shouted this from the rooftops, but I needed to do it on this page as well. Anywho, Yona of the Dawn Hive, we are so I'm literally about to cut this camera off and go read the epilogue, because actually, why haven't I read the epilogue? It came out earlier this year. I don't know. I think I just made peace with the ending and I was like, but I just remembered, yeah, I do need to read that. Let me know in the comments what you guys want us to yap about next. In one of my previous videos, so many people told me to watch Witch Hat Atelier, and I know that the entire full season is out. Full season 1 is out. I think I'm gonna binge watch that. Do you guys want to yap about that? Anything I should keep in mind when I'm looking at it? Let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Jane.